Right now, you are exhibiting and viewing and observing and witnessing something that cannot be put into words because it has no corollary, no contemporary. There's no comparison as to what this is. This is an election which has nothing to do with the truth, nothing to do with, thank you, darling, nothing to do with reality, nothing to do with anything but one day where every product has to be sold on the market that day. And there's no room for errors. You have to make sure that everybody shows up to vote. You've got to make sure that they don't steal the vote. And in the meantime, before this date happens, you're listening to every conceivable bit of lunacy you've ever heard from everybody who feel that they have to somehow give you an explication, an expatiation of what it all means. They don't know anything yet. It's just started. We have 82 days until the election, and there are intermittent moments. This has nothing to do with reality, with explaining issues. It's about a certain group of people who have not made up their mind, who actually could be lured one way or the other. Let me say that again. This election is not about you and me and Democrats and Republicans and brilliant people. It's about people who, for reasons I will never understand, might need some coaxing, some cajoling, some help. Nobody cares what Kamala Harris says. And everybody knows what Donald Trump has done. He's been in office. We've lived through this. So what's happening now? Why is this different? The difference is it's her, and it's social media, and it's creating an image. Remember, not for you, not for me, but for people who might not necessarily feel as though they understand the issues yet. Sit back, good friend. Sit back and watch this. I've got so many bits and clips and things to show you, and I will explain to you how to think about this. Different than anything you're hearing anyplace else, because this is about behavior. It's about psychology. It's about emotion. It has nothing to do with facts, nothing to do with history, nothing to do with politics. It's this thing about this brand that you love or you hate, and that some people might not want to vote because they figure, you know what, I'm not going to do anything, or I'm lazy, or what's in it for me. It has nothing to do with good versus evil. But in the meantime, dear friends, let me ask you to do a couple of things. First and foremost, number one, make sure you are subscribed. Make sure you are listening. Make sure you are focused on this. And more importantly, I want you to listen to this very, very, very critical and thorough message about something that is going to affect not only you, but society as we know it. Friends, today I want to share with you a great choice for a copper investment. World Copper Limited, which trades under the symbol WCUFF. World Copper is a leading company with premier copper resources in the U.S. and Chile. They have two major projects, the Zonia project in Arizona and the Escalones project in Chile. The Zonia project, just 160 kilometers from Phoenix, has an impressive net present value of $447 million using $4 copper. The Escalones project boasts a significant resource estimate with great expansion potential. With the world shifting towards electrification, the demand for copper is skyrocketing. An electric vehicle can contain up to a mile of copper wiring, weighing over 130 pounds, compared to only 50 pounds in a traditional internal combustion car. From smartphones to EVs, copper is essential, and World Copper is right at the forefront of this boom. Now, what sets World Copper apart is their commitment to environmentally responsible mining. Their projects use the heap leach mining method, which is efficient and consumes far less water than traditional methods, ensuring that they protect our planet for future generations. Now, here's something interesting. Insiders at World Copper have been buying stock recently. Over the last quarter, insiders spent a meaningful $1.2 million Canadian on shares with no recorded sales. The chairman of the board, Hendrik Van Alphen, recently purchasing more than 18 cents Canadian per share, increasing his holding by 40%. The stock is currently trading at around 10 cents Canadian, which means you'll be buying shares at a cheaper price than many insiders and institutions. So as we conclude this video, I want to share some market trends. Gold, which I'm bullish on, just hit an all-time high. And I honestly believe that we are going to see a lot more demand for precious metals, minerals, and mining stocks in general. So if you're looking for a solid investment in the copper industry, World Copper Limited is your top choice. So check them out and see why they're leading the charge in sustainable copper production. As always, I want to remind you to do your own research before making any investment decisions. And to help you with that, I'll be putting the World Copper stock ticker, website, and investor presentation in the description below. Kamala Harris, as we speak right now, is being kept in a room. She's being kept in a room, and they are doing everything in their power to keep her away from you. They're doing everything in their power. Now, we don't know why they selected her. We don't know of all the people that were available. Why? I don't know. We can get... And everybody in every corner of the world is trying their best to figure out what is going on. I was watching, before we even started, people discussing the idea of Satan, satanic influences, and the Antichrist on our... I'm not kidding you. Satan. Now I'm not going to tell somebody that Satan has nothing to do with anything. I'm not going to get into the discussion of Satan. I'm not going to ask whether there is a Satan, but I guarantee you, if you wait long enough, you will hear everything you can possibly imagine from people who all of a sudden will weigh in. Because you must understand something. For the first time in history, regular folks are able to speak. When I was young, and you were young probably, when we were growing up, we had no way, nobody knew what we thought. We had no way to explicate, to announce what it was. You might put a yard sign in your front yard. That's about it. That was it. That was the end of everything as we knew it. It was just, and then all of a sudden now, everybody's got an opinion. And some of the best journalism there is. And as I mentioned to you yesterday, linear television, linear programming is out the window because everything's going streaming and because the world is changing drastically. And especially my friends who are in still the radio and the TV, they think it's 1985. Okay. I want you to look at this carefully, and I want you to think and ask yourself a question. What is this really all about, and how are we to advance the notion of what's going on? Let me explain to you this one, and let's watch this, and I want you to see what's happening, and I'm going to tell you what it is that you need to know about this and why it's important. Now, before you react, don't try to keep from either showing your love for Trump or your disgust for Kamala, and look at this as you would a scientist looking at the results of a test, the behavioral evaluation of, let's say, a particular species. Let's watch this one.
We have a bill that basically would require states to upgrade their elections infrastructure, because guess what? Going like Back to the Future, best and smartest way to conduct voting, paper ballots.
Now, this was in 2020. Kamala is advocating paper ballots. The last thing in the world these people want is paper ballots. The last thing. Very difficult to manipulate. Very difficult to now, shall we say, alter and the like. Listen to what words she will now have to eat from 2020. And the reason why she said this was because she was a senator, because she doesn't know what the hell she's talking about.
Paper ballots.
Not paper roses, paper ballots. Okay? She's so proud of herself. Look at this. She's proud of herself. Paper ballots. Isn't that great? Don't you feel good about this? Seriously, don't you feel like, that's fantastic? Paper ballots. Yeah, that's good. That's good, Cammy.
I joke
Why are they clapping?
and I say paper ballots because Russia can't hack a piece of paper. The best and most
Remember this one. Remember how these words are going to haunt her now.
secure way to conduct elections, paper ballots.
And she feels proud of what she said. She feels at the moment, even then, because she had no idea what she was talking about. She goes, "Isn't this great, paper ballots?" And she says it, and she looks out in the crowd and waiting for this cavalcade, this tsunami of applause, recognizing the genius of what she said.
Because the way that I say it, kind of half joking, Russia can't hack a piece of paper.
Once you say something, you say the line until it is you repeat it inexhaustibly, okay? Over and over again.
The most secure way to vote?
Guess what it is? What do you think it's going to be? Class? Anybody?
Paper.
There you go.
You're right.
He's laughing.
And
by the way, keep in mind, you're not going to be hearing this laughter anymore. Why? Because her people have said, you've got to stop this. You sound like a blithering, blathering lunatic, some logorrheic fool. Watch this. You are going to be so surprised, and it will creep up, and she'll catch herself because that's all she knows.
And so this is great. Now, it would be great if the Republican leader would put these bills on the floor for a vote.
Okay. You see what I'm saying? You see what's happening right now? Little by little. Watch how she changes. Our good friend Xander says Kamala will be blamed for her losing the election. Obama is behind the scenes on this. Do you believe that Obama is behind the scenes? And if so, why? Do you know why you're believing this? Because you're being told this. You're being told this. And Obama would love for you to believe this, but Obama isn't in charge of anything. Obama didn't want her. Obama didn't want Tampon Timmy, didn't want any of this. Find yourself, not that you're doing it, Xander, and by the way, thank you, but always ask yourself, am I saying something because I truly believe this? Or am I saying something that is just being repeated by a lot of other people who say the same thing? Do I really mean this? Or am I repeating what people are saying? And you hear it, it's very cliched, especially in sports analysis and sports TV. Now, let me go back again to the schizophrenic, and this is her problem. And if Trump, remember, this is up to Trump. If Trump can even go in and even scratch the surface of her schizophrenia and how she changes from one minute to the next, look at this beaut, which again, she will hate the fact that it's even out there.
Mother who pays a coyote to transport her children.
Hold it. Don't you love when people all of a sudden say, to me, because I am a Latino? And more importantly, I believe that as a Latina, you must understand that there are places like Tijuana, and we saw rebel insurgents in Managua, Nicaragua. All of a sudden, people feel this need to pronounce Spanish words, but they don't say, I like a nice pizza with mozzarella. And I enjoy pasta, pasticcio. Anyway, I'm sorry. Let's go back and check it again, because she's very proud of it. Because she knows, because in addition to being Black and Asian and African-American and a woman, she's also very, very versed. Oh, AOC does this as well. She'll get into Latina out of nowhere. Check this one out.
A mother who pays a coyote to transport her child through their country of origin, through the entire country of Mexico, facing unknown peril to come here. Why would that mother do that? I will tell you. Because she has decided for that child to remain where they are is worse. But what does Donald Trump do? He says, go back to where you came from. That is not reflective of our America and our values, and it's got to end.
To be clear to folks in this region who are thinking about making that dangerous trek.
Now, wait a minute. Now, she just told you, remember, she's not going to change her mind in a year. She's not going to go from help people to not help people, right?
To the United States-Mexico border.
Here, she can't change her mind in a year.
Do not come.
She changed her mind in a year. What happened? Lucy, what happened?
Do not come.
Yo me diga, chica.
And I believe if you come to our border, you will be turned back.
Do you? This is why I'm saying, Mr. President, dear Mr. President, do you have any idea, kind sir, of what is being handed to you? Do you have any idea, kind sir, of what is being presented? It's incredible. But it doesn't get better there. I love when people are caught in lies. I'm going to tell you something right now, and you're absolutely not going to believe a word I'm saying. It is better to admit when you're caught than to lie. I know you're going to say, what? Absolutely. Because it just diffuses. You've been caught, so you're not going to talk yourself out of it. If the police find you at 3 o'clock in the morning and you're in a liquor store and you've got a sledgehammer and you broke the, I think, and they ask you, are you breaking in? Yes, of course. As opposed to, no, what made you think? Then they get mad at you, and then it becomes worse. It's better to just tell people right off the bat, look, I don't like much. This is when, and by the way, CNN is doing a very, very good job from time to time. If you see it, this is when CNN catches these folks, catching them red-handed, specifically regarding, listen to me carefully, specifically regarding the use, the duplicitous use of certain social media messages to appear. Well, just watch this.
Break in terms of, is this something that's normal? Is this something that campaigns have been using? How do you defend kind of the?
Look at the face. No, watch. They caught her. This is Harris campaign's Google ads rewrite news headlines. Okay, now watch her face. Let me just go back a little bit. Watch her kind of like she shrugs her face. Oh, I don't know. Maybe it's just watch this
during the break in terms of, is this something that's normal? Is this something that campaigns have been using? How do you defend kind of the?
Yeah. Well, this is part of paid advertising. I mean, if you are somebody who's reading a news outlet on your phone, you'll see embedded ads come up sometimes in those stories that, for on first glance, look like a story by the outlet you're reading, but
on first glance, and the reason why at first glance is that's because we're trying to make it look like on a first glance, because we're basically trying to fool you. But if you fall for that, then you're an idiot. This is what she's about to say.
If you don't, if you look at it more closely, it says sponsored content. I mean, this is something that the search engines do. It's part of the way they generate ad.
It's what we do, and if you fall for this, then you're an idiot.
Revenue. So there's nothing about it that is violates their terms or is an.
Doesn't violate terms. It's duplicitous, and it's almost camouflage, and certainly violates the spirit of I think open and accessible campaign availability. But if you're stupid enough to fall for it, hey, well, you're our kind of voter.
Anyway, unethical. I mean, this is part of the way that paid advertising works, and
where we do it, it's hey, look, I mean,
you'll see it. It's certainly not just political campaigns who do it. I mean, just
everybody does it. I mean, come on, it's not like us. I mean, come on.
I'm reading things online. Sometimes I'll double, I'll sort of double look at something.
Boy, she is just digging herself. All she's got to do is just answer it. Of course it is.
Because it feels like it's an authentic piece of content, and then you see it's paid. So it
seems like it's authentic, and you go, it's paid. And it's like, well, I do it myself, and what's the big deal? Come on.
It is incumbent on the viewer, the reader, the consumer to have a discerning eye, not just on political content, but on other.
See, there you go. Don't you love this? There is nothing more. I love liars. All you have to do is just say, that's exactly what it is. Well, of course it is. Well, yes, of course it is. Yes, absolutely. Yes, that's the way it is. Yes. It's like magic trick. It's like, of course. Now, here is the guy. This is the one that I love the most. I love when things happen, dear friends, out of nowhere. Who knew that Tampon Timmy, El Mentiroso, along with Kamala, would turn out to be this gift that keeps on giving? Who knew? This lovable coach, this guy, you love him, and he's such a nice guy, and he's a homespun guy, and he's the coach, and master sergeant, I don't know, command sergeant major, whatever the word is, sergeant, right? Who knew this guy would turn out to be so creepy? And watch the jazz hands and the hand dancing and this weird. It's almost like when Colbert dances. Have you ever seen Colbert dance? When he does the spin, you will say, oh. Sometimes dancing gives it away. If you know what I mean? You ever see a man dance? Or go, you just don't happen upon that move. Okay, I got it. Not that there's anything wrong with it. I'm just saying. Okay. Anyway, listen to our man here. Now listen to old blood and guts, old Timmy, and listen carefully.
Both of you, with your keen understanding of how this works, especially from National Guard.
By the way, he aged so drastically, and I don't want to make that a big deal. I can't. But this guy, he's just 60 years old today, as we speak. And if you see pictures of him before, you can't believe. Sometimes I don't even realize it's him. But check this out. And let me ask you the question. Does he suggest, intimate, or insinuate that he was in Afghanistan? Remember, it was Iraq, that he was in Afghanistan, that he was in war. Okay, and he's talking to people who actually were. Ask yourself this question.
And both of you, with your keen understanding of how this works, especially from National Guard families, I can tell you this. First experience. Listen carefully now. Here it comes. Take it from me, Sergeant Rock here. Having been one of those that came back,
Having been one of those that came back. Can we do this again? Let me just, what does this mean? Okay, listen.
Tell you this, having been one of those that came back, we were in support of OEF, but sitting in there with OIF veterans. When we came back, they showed us the horse.
When we came back from Afghanistan.
Whisper, and told us to be nice when we went home. And that was the extent of it. That was in 2000.
To be nice when we went home, having been involved in the ravages of frontline battle. This is what he's intimating.
2004. Now, I'm proud to say that because of the people sitting in here and people who came before me, things have changed over the last 4 years. They have not changed enough. But Mr. Kennedy is following and moving something forward that the late senator from Minnesota, Senator Wellstone.
Now, this poor guy. Look at this is Patrick Kennedy. Remember Patrick? He was he had some problems. He was doing, believe it or not, he was taking that what's that stuff, that medication that's sleeping, Ambien, right? I think he was taking Ambien. Remember Ambien? Patrick Kennedy showed up like at 3 a.m. He wanted to vote. He was in his underwear and he shows up at the Capitol. And some people, remember when people were Ambien, they said stay home. Some people were gaining weight, and this one particular woman, she was gaining weight, and she had a camera or something for her kid. Turns out she's cooking and eating. People were hypnotic. They were sleepwalking. This poor guy. I kind of like old Patrick, bless his heart.
Advocated so clearly mental health parity and this issue of destigmatizing mental health, of understanding. And
is this you now?
Being in there and knowing as a first sergeant,
Did you hear this?
Understanding, and I being in there and knowing as a first sergeant, know exactly what you're saying, and watching as people aren't trained on this, that there is there's a discrimination that goes against a soldier who has the courage, the fortitude, and as you said, the insight to admit this. So there's a couple things I want to ask you.
And he knows. Do you hear this? This was then. Or do you clearly get the impression? Do you clearly get the impression he saw combat either in Afghanistan or Iraq, and that he was in the, starts with an S, but he was there? Do you not get that impression? Do you not get that feeling? Do you not understand this? This is something they do not. Did you ever watch Don Shipley? I love that. Oh, Don and Diane. Oh, UBS underwater. What's your buds class? What's your buds class? He does all these stolen valor people. Nobody is suggesting that Tampon Timmy was not in, Blood and Guts, El Mentiroso was not in the National Guard. Nobody's suggesting that. But his rank and whether he saw action or combat, this is some serious stuff. Watch this and you respond.
Tim Walz wants to be a heartbeat away from Commander-in-Chief, but Tim Walz has lied about his military record for years.
He's used the rank that he never achieved in order to advance his political career.
Walz lied repeatedly about his rank.
Retired Command Sergeant Major. Retired Command Sergeant Major. Command Sergeant Major. Retired Command Sergeant Major.
Walz lied about being in combat.
Can make sure that those weapons of war that I carried in war,
Walz dodged deployment by retiring when he knew his National Guard unit was going to Iraq.
Everybody knew they were going to train and go to Iraq. The warning order basically stated it, and too much later after he knew it, that's when he retired.
Walz disparaged Minnesota National Guard soldiers.
Mayor said, I request the National Guard. We're going to have massively trained troops. No, you're going to have 19-year-olds who are cooks.
That same Minnesota National Guard that he disparaged, unlike Walz, served heroically in Iraq and Afghanistan. Yep. Tim Walz is not fit to be anywhere near the office of Commander-in-Chief. Tim Walz is guilty of stolen valor.
He abandoned us, I mean, what the hell kind of leader does that?
And remember, he asked for it. He brought it up. Nobody laid it on him. You don't have to do that. There's people, the best, the real warriors, the people who go and they don't talk about it a lot because they don't really have to. Say what you want about John McCain. John McCain never talked about what he went through. Prisoner of war, or prisoner as I call it. Prisoner of war, POW. No, he never talked about it. He didn't have to. He never he didn't do this. I mean, it might have made reference to it. But when somebody does something, it's like the guy who drives around in the police car. You ever see these guys every now and then? I'm an expert in this because my favorite hobby, my new hobby, is going and watching YouTube. But YouTube is people who are arrested for different things. And one of them is a guy who drives a police car, or the fake police car. And you wonder, what is this about? But it gets better. Now, there's something which happened the other night, and this I want to talk to you about. And I have a hard time sometimes explaining this because a lot of folks, for reasons I don't understand, do not know how to put themselves in terms of, how do I say this? They don't know how to put themselves in how to handle Israel, Gaza, Palestine. What's going on here? What do we do? Are we for this? I'm serious. There are people who are absolutely adamant, Kamala Harris. Well, what's her position? Well, what does the Democratic Party say? What's going to happen to her and the Democrats now that schools are going back to colleges? You're going to be seeing more and more reactions and the like. Okay. Where was this? In Harlem? There's one in Harlem. This was apparently, and by the way, I do not like this. I do not stand for this. This is how people get hurt. Protesting is one thing. Going in and breaking up individuals who are trying themselves to meet. Sorry, I know people think, oh, that's what you got to do. But this is a bunch of, by the way, pro-Palestinian protesters breaking up this event. They're not calling it, at least the way it's been held, the way it's been recorded, they're not calling it anti-Israel. Watch this.
How dare you!
Okay, this goes on and on and on and on. But the point is, how is she going to deal with this? What is her position on this? And if Trump pulls it out, Trump's been absolutely, like it or not, he's completely 100% pro whatever Israel wants, whatever BB wants, we're in it. Okay, that's what he stands for. And people will say, at least I know where you stand. With her, I want to cease fire. What about the hostage? I mean, okay. And a lot of her staunch and adamant Democratic folks are saying, we want something more powerful. We want something that deals with a more affirmative look at this. I'm going to give you one more, just one more of this. And unless you really know what you're after, and unless you see this, I hope Trump is just writing this down, because he's going to only have one. They're only going to do one debate. September the 10th. They're not going to do any more. Presidential, you never heard of just more. Not her. She can't do it. This is going to be a disaster. She'll figure something out. They'll blame he's a convicted felon or he's a liar. She'll, wiggle out of it. We haven't even talked about J.D. Vance and Timmy. Now we'll talk about this in a moment. But dig this.
Because when we think about...
Oh, this is what I wanted to tell you about. This was fairly recently. This is what scares the Democrats about more than anything else, is to draw her out. When she goes into this logorrhea word salad, this is what you're not going to be hearing any more of. So these are going to be hard to find.
Because when we think about the strength of our democracy, I think that there's a duality to the nature of democracy.
A duality.
When it's intact, oh, it's so strong in terms of what it does to uphold and protect individual rights.
Okay, yeah.
So strong in its nature.
Yeah.
And it's very fragile. It will only be as strong as our willingness to fight for it.
That's the duality when it works and when it doesn't. The duality of a clock is wonderful. When it works, it's wonderful. It tells the time. When it doesn't work, it doesn't tell the time, and it's basically plastic. That's not a duality, the on and off switch. This is why they don't want her to get anywhere near what's going on. Now, my friends, I want you to listen to this. And I'm going to say this again to you because I think you need to know this. It's 82 days until the election. And we can see this. What I want to happen is I want there to be a complete and total shift as to how she is viewed. I want this to be a total and complete shift as to how she is viewed. If she is interpreted, if she is seen as being the idiot, that will stick like glue. That's what I want. And I think we're there. Ryan says, clearly, certain firms are engineering their polls, oversampling Dems, polling registered rather than likely voters in order to depress Republican enthusiasm. When did this strategy become and does it actually work? Ryan, thank you. It's been around forever. It has been around forever. And here's the problem. It means nothing. 82 days. when you listening, when you hear polls, it's like it hits your ear like polls, let's polls. What do the polls do? What do the polls do? Well, the polls, well, the Rasmussen poll says, well, the Quinnipiac poll, well, the ABC, the Rasmussen, well, the Gallup poll, the ballot polls, polls. What does it mean? Well, there's a real clear policy. Do you think it means anything? Do you understand it? Do you think it means it? Let me ask you something, Ryan, and you. Who is our voter? Who is our voter? Very important question. Who is our voter? I've just enlisted you for the Trump team. First question before you get the job. Who is our voter? Who is the person you're going to be focusing all of your attention on? Who? Tell me. Who? Who is the person? Understand what this goal is. Who is the person? Now, by the way, let me just explain something. Polls are not psychological tools. Polls work. Polls work. Are polls for 13-year-old brains? No. And who is our remember, I appreciate this, but many people just throw things out. That's it. It doesn't matter. No. Wait. If polls don't matter, what's the point? Polls work. Internals work like you cannot believe. You know exactly. Hillary Clinton knew she was going to lose. The polls were spot on. Not the ones that you saw, not the ones that were put out. Those aren't the polls we're talking about. Those aren't that's like saying 9 out of 10 doctors prefer, no, they don't. Polls work. Medicine works. You know what I mean? There were remember during the notion when we said, during the whole COVID days, people were saying things like, vaccines don't work. No, vaccines work. There's no such immunology works. They would confuse COVID with vaccine. And it's like, no, they have worked. No. Louis Pasteur was on to something there. And people always would extrapolate. Well, polls don't work. Polls are put out, sort of, but the poll itself works. If you're going to spend $1 million, I guarantee you will know exactly how you're doing. You will know exactly, and you will be shocked at the limited number of people that you need in order to get a good sample size. And how by doubling and tripling the sample size, it doesn't increase the margin of error by anything. So my question is, who are we going after? We're going after the independent and undecided voter. We don't care about anybody else. I'm going to say this again. I don't care about somebody who's going to vote for Kamala Harris. Let me ask you something. Is there anybody here right now? In fact, not everybody here is going to vote for Trump, and that's fine. I appreciate this, and we welcome you. Is there anybody here who would actually be, seriously, who would actually be voting for, or would vote for, or could be made to vote for Kamala Harris if you found out something terrible about President Trump? Let me ask you this again. Is there any one of you, dear friends, who would actually vote for Kamala Harris if you found out something bad enough about Trump? Mad P says, I sometimes envy normies' ability to be blatantly lied to and then somehow forget the horror show of the past 3.5 years. Ignorance is bliss. Mad, I love you, but they don't see it like that. They don't see it as a horror show. They don't understand it. You see it as a horror show. They don't. They're not bad people. They don't. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm going to give you an example of something, and I'm going to say this again for you. And people are going to say, he's not talking about this again. I swear to you, I know people who all of a sudden were told, cover your arms in tattoos, and you will be elevated to a status of cool you never thought possible. And they said, okay. And they went out and hideously transformed themselves and mutilated their skin, took all their dermal real estate and covered it with hideous, ugly. They look like carnival workers. They look like they would, like somebody at a bowling alley waitress or something, with all due respect to bowling alleys and waitresses. Do you understand what I'm saying? They are told, this is good. Okay. Trump is bad. We have to vote Democrat or vote whatever it is. Don't worry about this. And if there's rioting or if there's crime, it's Trump's fault. It's not our fault. So don't worry about that. You continue to vote for that. If you don't understand that, you're in the wrong business. If you honestly think there's something wrong with these people, if you think these people are crazy, they're not crazy. They think you're crazy. It's like, have you ever seen somebody in your family, maybe a daughter or son, who is dating or wants to marry somebody that you know is a psycho lunatic? Have you ever seen this? I've seen this so many times in my life. I can't even count anymore. I can't. And you think to yourself, listen, I don't want to tell you anything, but do you understand she's a nut? What are you talking about? She's crazy. And then they resent you, and then something goes wrong. And then later on, your friend says, you were right about her. We told you, but you were somehow stuck in this, whatever. You weren't crazy. You got all this stuff on your arm when you thought tattoos were cool. Now you're 65 years old and your skin's sagging, and I can't even make out what it is. It looks like you've been in a fire. You weren't listening then. You weren't paying attention. Everybody around you was doing the same thing. Look at them. Andrew Morgan says, word is that Trump team is going after the Amish vote hard in Pennsylvania and Michigan. 100,000 people between the two states. Well, I would hope so. According to Fetterman, and thank you for this, by the way, Fetterman, let me just look at Real Clear today. I'm just for whatever it's worth. Pennsylvania, Trump by 0.2. So that's 82 days away. Let's see how they feel about that fracking. Let's see how they feel about that. And when you say going after, I hope they're going after all kinds of people. Now, theirs is a different one. If you're going after these folks, you're going to have to ask yourself, well, how do we get to the Amish? You go after social media? I don't think so. That poses a much more different, a much greater challenge, if you will, than anything else. But it's a fascinating subject matter. Now, understand something. I want to go back, and this is important. What we're talking about is psychology. This is psychology. And what I mean psychology is the emotional connection. I have a friend of mine, woman, she's like early 70s, has a granddaughter, been a teacher her whole life, very good teacher, smart, a devout lefty. Okay, fine. I said, let me ask you something. You see that granddaughter of yours? What happens if one day you find out that there has been a regimen of gender adapting pills or medications utilized and provided in order to get her to either stabilize or reassign or whatever her gender? And what happens if the reason you found out about this was that she one day said, I feel like a boy or something. And this is actually going on. Tim Walz was going to do this and others as well. Do you have a problem with that? Trying to find an area where she would say, okay, you know what? I agree with you on that. You know what she said? Now, was she mentally ill? No, not at all. YouTube says she got a unicorn on her breast when she was 22. Now it looks like a giraffe with a learning disability. You are too much. I can't say this enough about tattoos. I can't. There are people in this country who have no idea they are whatever their movement is. First of all, there's some people who don't vote. Do you have friends of yours who don't vote? McNeil, Lara, one of the two, he never voted. George Marshall, one of the greatest Americans, perhaps maybe of all time, he never voted. Some people in the media, they don't vote. They don't vote. Some people do not vote. George Carlin, the beloved George Carlin, says, when you vote, you merely encourage them. Do you know people who don't vote? Are they crazy? What is it? I don't think they're crazy. I can't understand not voting. Would you vote if you lived in California? What difference does it make if Trump wins? I mean, it might be. I vote because I want to make my statement made. I want to make my word. But why is it that people vote for things? Are you voting for Trump because you have looked at all of his plans and all of his what am I trying to say? His proposals, and you've weighed them, and you say, you know what? I think this makes the most sense. I think it makes the most sense. I think this is a no. You're voting for Trump for a variety of reasons. Look at this. Tim Walz agrees to New York City debate with J.D. Vance. That's going to be beautiful. Now, let me ask you this. Now, listen to me carefully. Listen to me. Do debates matter? Yes or no? Do debates matter? Yes or no? Answer the question. Do they matter? Do debates matter? It's critical that you answer that question. Metro Lou says, nope. Diane says, nope. They do to the people. Sarah says, yes. Look at this. No, if voting made any difference, they wouldn't let us do it. Mark Twain didn't say that. That was one of the Berrigan brothers. And also, it's one of those ones that was said by everybody. I think Emma Goldman said that. If voting made any difference, nobody will let us do it. It sounds good. Let me ask you something. Do you think debates mean anything? Do you think so? People say, not usually. What happened after the Joe Biden debate? What happened? What do people think about debates now? When you say debate for people, what do people think of when you say debate? What does the word debate? On June 27th was a debate. It was over with almost immediately. And then July 5th was Stephanopoulos, right? It makes a huge difference because now you want to see a bloodbath. And if all of a sudden Trump does a thing like, you're going to want to tune into this debate because no matter what they do, they're not going to be able to throw it. It's her. They're going to do everything in their power to either cover. I wouldn't be surprised if they gave her an earpiece or if they gave her the questions ahead of time. Trump has to say this ahead of time and throw it off. But watch what happens. Make sure you tune in and ask yourself when you see her speak, imagine her sitting across from Vladimir Putin, Xi Jinping, Erdogan, Kim Jong-un, name it. Imagine her sitting across from him, looking at Putin straight in the eye, looking at Xi Jinping, looking at them. Imagine it. I've done it repeatedly. I know them. They know me. They're not going to try anything with me. But imagine that. Watch her handle the debate with me. Watch what happens. Now they're building this up and they're going to say, and she's going to be, watch what they do. There's no amount of training that can prepare her for that job. You can't. You have no idea. You don't understand something. The Democrats don't run the show. Where's Joe Biden now? He doesn't exist. He's in a coma somewhere. I don't know who's running this country. And they don't even talk about that. And by the way, it's not only me, but it's Fox News. You've got that Peter Doocy who's sitting there with Karine Jean-Pierre. I think they kind of dig each other in a weird way. I know this. Every now and then I'll see some interplay. I think they just, I think it's weird. I think there's some, I know it's maybe theoretically or chemically impossible, but I think there's something there. And I think they love to play this cat and mouse stuff. I really do. And I think that they, in their own particular way, they're getting off of this. But the problem is there is nobody running the show right now. We don't have a president of the United States. And if he does not step down, and then pursuant to the 25th Amendment, she becomes president, it would be the greatest move ever. Ever. Do you hear what I'm saying? It will be the greatest move ever she could say, I'm a sitting president. I am acting president or President Kamala Harris. And then if she's not able to attend something, she says, I'm sorry, I'm president. And she'll be signing bills and doing all this stuff. Think about it. Why they've waited, I have no idea, because there is no Joe. Joe's going to be speaking at the convention or whispering or whatever it is that he's doing. Let me make sure you understand something. When it comes to the undecided, the independent, but also this person who lives in a world today that waits for the trolls, for the attacks. They want to see her fall apart. They want to be a part of it. They saw what happened last time. They couldn't believe that train wreck. Oh, if you think debates don't matter now, you're not paying attention. You're just responding reflexively. You're not thinking about this. Most of what people do, they just respond. And they respond in a way that they've answered before. And I've seen it name the issue. Now, there's two things that she will not be able to handle. And two things she will not. If she comes out right away, he comes right away and says, do you believe that Israel is committing genocide in Gaza as we speak? Yes or no? They're going to say, excuse me, President Trump. No, let her answer the question. You're not afraid of the question, are you? You do have an opinion, don't you? Mr. President, that's not, excuse me. That's not the way it works. You can't tell Putin or Xi Jinping or somebody, I'm sorry, that's not the way we're going to do it. Now answer the question. Yes or no? Because I guarantee you, you won't even be in there 5 minutes before you're going to have to deal with that right at this moment. And don't tell me that you and Joe have been working on this. Stop it. Don't even insult me with that. You want her to just melt like a bug over a match. You want her to just say, oh my God. You want that to be the most epic meltdowns in the history of recorded television. And she will not, and half of her constituents, those people from the Democrat, those people who, by the way, who broke in, those people on college campuses, the people who are joining forces, the ones who were protesting, those significant members of the Democratic Party, the Amy Goodmans and others, those are Democrats. Those aren't Republicans. You want to cause a fissure, a fracture. That's what you want to do. You also want to remind them that they're going to do exactly to her maybe what they did to Bernie Sanders. Remember the Bernie Bros? Remember those folks? They were just, and also where's AOC? Where does she stand? You want that to be, where do we stand on this? I would love to tell the Democrats, let me get this straight. You're advocating sending 2,000-pound bombs to Bibi Netanyahu to kill Palestinians? Is that what you're doing? Now, let me stop. What do I think? It's a little more nuanced than that. I'm telling you what you have to ask to get her to freak out. If she says, you damn right, anything, she loses. If she says, no, I'm against that, she loses. Because the party's split. It causes a side to take it. There's one thing about the Republican Party. They're unified. I've got a friend of mine who puts, we support Israel. I said, what does that mean? What about the United States? What do you mean you support Israel? Well, because she thinks that that's what you say to be a... But irrespective, she believes it. Our good friend, Ski Bro says, do you see any reasoning why Gavin Newsom is trying to clean up the homeless in my home state so close to the elections? You know what, Ski? I do not, and thank you. I do not understand this. First of all, what happens in Gavin Newsom's running for 2028? We have been told, everybody, up to and including I think Obama knew he would be far better than her. When you clean up, you're telling people it needs to be cleaned up. Edie Crowley says, Mr. Rell, a great biz idea. Kamala salad dressing to pair with America's daily dose of word salad. Somebody could make some money. Indeed. By the way, that word salad is called logorrhea. And logorrhea is also called, I think it's called emotional incontinence. I love that. Kind of like emotional diarrhea, just spews. And there's no, she's not doing this anymore. And they're doing this. Let me tell you what they're doing. I was trying to find this before. Maybe I'll find it later. This is the thing which is the most important. Did I miss Raul's super chat? Did I do that? Hang on a minute. Masterpiece. Just a second. Hang on. Oh, there we go. Raul says, I heard bad things about Trump. I'll vote for him. Oh, absolutely. I can't think of any reason why I would not vote for him, Raul. Nothing. I'm telling you right now. I mean this. I am telling you right now. There is nothing. I'm not going to. I mean, I guess it's theoretically possible, but not practical. He is the chemotherapy that can kill the cancer that has basically destroyed my republic. It's that simple. But here's the thing. Stop looking at the Democrats as being crazy. They're not crazy. This is not mental illness. There are people who do things all the time. I told you. I know people who spent thousands of dollars marring their skin. I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm going to leave it at that. I do not know. Overnight, and it's going up here and the neck and the hands. And I realized these people will do anything. They will do anything. So what is it? I was going to tell you something. What Kamala is doing, along with El Mentiroso, the liar, they're contriving these things where they're talking. I'll try to find it where she says, I called you the first time. I know, Madam Vice President. I'm sorry. It went straight to voicemail. I really wanted to talk to you. I know. That was someday. Can you believe they're actually doing this? Somebody said, here's a good idea. Let's have this behind the scenes. These two lovable yucks, your favorite neighbors, your best buds talking about. That was the wildest thing ever. They love this phone call stuff. When she was walking, supposedly, got the call from Obama and Michelle, that I couldn't believe the level of duplicity, the level of absolute, it was fraudulent. Hey, Michelle, hey, girl. When I hear that, my skin crawls. And what made it even worse was they called it Southern. It's not Southern. I don't understand anything. It's like, do they think we're that stupid? But to them, it means a lot. They love this camaraderie. They love this idea of this behind the scenes. Hey, Tim, we haven't seen like, ding dong. Who it is, honey? It's Kamala and Doug with maybe a covered dish. Hi, kids. Have a seat. Hope you like stroganoff. My favorite. Hey, Doug, how about a beer? Please. Unbelievable. It is the most incredible story you have ever seen, ever. Amazing. Hang on. I just got a word. I'll be on the Mark Simone show today at 10:40. Today, just a little surprise. Oh, somebody dropped out. It's okay. Doesn't matter. I don't care. I'm ready to go anytime. I am the greatest gift to any kind of show ever because I'm always ready to go. I know exactly what to do and I don't waste time. So anyway, and they're not going to be able to handle how this thing is going to work. Believe me when I tell you this. Let me put this in my, I love this little, how do we say this? I love this thing that we have. It's this wonderful little, what am I trying to say? This calendar. And I'll put it on something. It's on my phone. It's on Mrs. L's phone. It's terrific. Anyway, so much for that. Now, where do we leave you with? First, don't overthink this. Trump is doing is he perfect? No, of course not. Of course not. There's no such thing. But what he's doing is not glaringly stupid. Save yourself. Remember, after the Democrat, you're going to hear that there has been a hit, the likes of which you can't believe, that she will have enjoyed this absolute, what am I trying to say? This surge, the love, everybody loves her. Loves her. I mean, people, you're going to see it rock star. It's going to drive you crazy. And the polls, the polls, through the roof, 10-point lead, 20-point lead. They're also telling you things like, well, Trump didn't get a bounce from the assassination attempt. He never got a bounce after that. They tell you all this stuff. What do you mean didn't get a bounce? Who says? Forget the word polls. Just because it's like using the word medicine versus antibiotics. One's a kind of a generic for it. They're going to do everything in their power. The problem, though, is that they've got to be very careful. If they create complacency, if they let their group think, hey, she's doing great, you don't need my help, as opposed to somebody coming along and saying, listen, Trump's got to say, I need every one of you out there. We've got to do this thing. I need you to vote. I need you here. I'm asking for your vote. This is going to be tough. You got it. That's not weakness. But these idiots are so stupid. They actually will come forward and say, we're doing terrific. We're killing in the polls. Not a good idea. Believe me when I tell you that. All right, dear friends. Excellent. Excellent. Remember, don't, how do I say this? Don't read too much into it. When I was reading today, people were talking about Satan and the Antichrist. I'm thinking, okay, it's a little simpler than that, though. If you've ever been in an election before, see, that's another thing too. I talk to people who've never heard this. I said, remember Michael Dukakis was like 17 points. They love this guy. George Bush he had the highest favorability ratings of anybody in real time. Thomas Eagleton. Today, if Thomas Eagleton said, well, we had ECT or maybe a shock treatment, they say, hey, that's great. You on meds? I'm on meds too. I like this guy. It was a different time then. That freaked everybody up. Remember, they had to bring in Sergeant Shriver at the end. These are different times. Plus, we have something now that nobody wants to talk about, and that's the effect of social media. Social media changes everything. What Trump did the other day with Elon Musk will never be able to be put into words in terms of how incredible that was. Okay, so Edie Crowley, the artist, we love you. Thank you. Ski Bro, thank you. Raul Rodriguez, YouTube, thank you. Gwig, Andrew Morgan, Mad Peace, Ryan, and the name Xander. Xander with an X. I love that. Xantho, Xantho, I believe means yellow, like xanthodontic, yellow teeth, yellow skin. Xantho, Xantho. And I mean that sincerely. All right, dear friends. Now, are you following Mrs. L? Are you following her on YouTube? Lynn's Warriors. Do it now. I'm telling you. It's the greatest thing ever. It's the talk of the town. And I'm going to tell you something. The number of people who rip off her stuff is just, you can't. I mean, the absolute unmitigated hubris of what we're seeing. It's like you cannot believe. Don't forget, as I said, on the 26th at the cutting room, yours truly will be there, my friends, right there, 10 days before the election. You will never forget this election for the rest of your life. Never. Absolutely, positively, never. Never, ever, ever. And also, let me give you this right now. This is Mrs. L's YouTube channel. Just go to this. It's already programmed. Just click that on and subscribe immediately. And also follow her every word on X, or Twitter as we call it, at Lynn's Warriors. And while we're on this subject, thank you for following Lionel Nation. Make sure you're always subscribed to this, and also Lionel Legal. Got more videos coming up. Let me tell you something. You are wonderful. We're all in this together, brother, as a great Cam Fong, as Chin Ho said. Listen to what I'm saying. And another thing I'm going to say to you. Do not lose your mind. And whenever answering a question, count to 10. It's a most important trait. Count to 10. Think about the question. Don't respond. Don't be Pavlovian. Don't be patellar in your response. Think about the question. And more importantly, think about the answer. All right, dear friends, you are the greatest. Have a great and a glorious day. See you tonight at 7 p.m. Until then, as we always say, as we always end with this valedictory, this adios, this sayonara. The monkey's dead. The show's over. Sue ya.